I did something totally out of my comfort zone last weekend. I drove down to Balina for a 3-day oil painting portrait workshop. I know this sounds pretty wild because if you know me, you know that all I do is draw letters on my iPad. But honestly, this experience was way more than just paint. It kind of tied together with everything that's been happening in my life lately, from losing my hard drives in a cyclone and trying to push my lettering style to be more painterly, and even thinking about AI taking over the internet. It all led me here, so let me tell you how it went. Let's get the coffee first. First things first. It's actually freezing. I thought it would be kind of like nice and warm today, but I'm so cold. Day one was all about drawing the model, and it was honestly quite humbling. I put so much pressure on myself, to be honest, and my brain was like, I don't know if you can draw orally. Like, if you cannot tap with 2 fingers and erase, what are you gonna do? And here's the very first mistake I made. I did not realize you kind of have to lock in one viewpoint and stick to it. So I should have, right from the beginning, decided, okay, this is where I'm standing, this is what I can see, and I'm gonna try and get back to that point all the time. But I kept moving around, and without noticing, by the end of the day, the model had somehow gone from full profile to showing both eyes. Like at the start, I could only see the full profile, and at the end, I could see 2 eyes. So you can imagine the chaos trying to fix that. I think my sketch was like so big that it made it a little bit more difficult. Like if I had something a little bit smaller, it would have been easier to see the proportions. Also, I had this shadow on my hand from where I was positioned, so totally my fault. Things that I would now do differently. So that's my very first tip. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Choose a viewpoint, stick to it, and don't make your sketch too big. Really looks like him. Perfect.
So this is the big one.
Right, let's do this. So this is the drawing. This is the big photocopy and the smaller one. So I'm gonna go with the big one. At the end of the day is when we did the transfer. So we just covered the back of our photocopy with raw umber, and you don't want to make it too thick. You just want a thin layer so that you can then put it on your canvas and trace it, and it's just going to leave a mark, and the mark will be made out of paint, of oil paint, of raw umber, so it will blend perfectly with the rest of the painting and you don't have like a pencil mark on it. So that's a technique that works really well. I had done it once before, so I kind of knew what to expect and how the paint was behaving, but that's how we set up for the underpainting. That's what it looks like at the end. I was very happy with the first day, learned so much already, and I was ready to move on to day 2.
lightest thing and the darkest thing. And if you choose one section, one form that has both, then you've used your range. Like you've used your lightest color and you've used your darkest. And if you paint that really well, then when you go to the next form, you can use that as an example of how to paint the next thing, because you know how dark your shadow is and you know how light your light is.
We started day 2 with the underpainting in raw umber again, so the same color that we used for the transfer, which honestly felt pretty chill compared to everything else. I knew where to put my darkest dark, and you don't really have to worry about the highlights, you just leave it blank. So you just literally just painting shadows with one color, so you can't get it too wrong. Then came the skin tones. It was so tricky because obviously there is not like one color that is a beige and that you can pick. You have to make that skin color. I thought I had really nailed that color. Like when I looked at it next to the model, it was like perfect, spot on, same color. But as soon as you put it on the canvas, it almost looked fake, almost like plastic. It was super tricky, particularly considering it was the very first time in my life I had ever mixed skin tone and I had ever applied it on a canvas. By the end of the day, I had only just done the forehead. Kind of nervous about day 3. I'm not gonna lie, the entire night I dreamt I was painting. But still, super excited and having the best time. Day 3 was finally there, and honestly, it felt like a race. When the day started, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to finish this painting on time. But we did it, we all did it. We tried our best to paint as fast as possible. And it's crazy to think that all the things we did in 3 days is pretty much what you learn in 3 years. Learning fine art in a school or an atelier, and we did that in 3 days. So kudos to all of us, we did it, and huge thank you to Andrew for being an awesome teacher and teaching us all those things in just 3 days. But essentially the main feedback I got throughout the painting process was that I was living in the midtones, so I was like playing it safe, not adding either very light or very dark colors, but also not really pushing in the chroma. Like my colors were like very low chroma, just very neutral, like very mid-range in the value scale. And that's funny because that's how I work with Procreate. Like I always start with desaturated colors and grayish colors. Like I don't really add any very dark colors or very light colors straight away. Like I kind of hold on to it until the very end. But with this type of artwork, you want to kind of do that straight away. The next thing was probably my brush work. I'm not used to paint, so everything I was doing was very tiny, very smushy, and I was blending things, when in reality the best is probably to just be very intentional with your brushstroke and leave a mark and have a lot more paint on the canvas, which is something that I think a lot of beginners do, and that's something that I will keep working on. that was my weekend in Ballina, my very first oil painting portrait workshop, and honestly, I think I'm hooked. It reminded me why I always tell my students to keep trying new things, because that's how you grow. You do the things that light you up, and even if you suck at them at first, that's literally what I do all the time. Every challenge, every new medium, every new experiment, it all builds on itself. And the cool part is it keeps evolving. Like, I can already feel how this will feed into my lettering, my colors, and even the way I look at shapes and shadows. So oil painting really feels like the start of something new. Also, massive thank you to Andrew. He's an incredible teacher, and his feedback completely shifted the way I think about my brushwork and my colors. But yeah, this whole experience just reminded me that while AI is getting better and faster, it will never replace what it feels like to make something with your hands. Something that smells like paint, that you can touch, that is in front of you and that exists. So if there's something you've been wanting to try, whether it's painting, pottery, photography, literally anything, just write it in the comments, say it out loud, because sometimes the first step is just naming it. And who knows, maybe next weekend you'll find yourself driving somewhere new for your own version of this story. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.